Imagine a plague so devastating that it wiped out nearly 60% of Europe's population in the 14th century. How did this catastrophic event reshape society in ways that still resonate today? This plague swept through Europe in the mid-14th century, leaving a trail of death and transformation. Let's set the stage. It was the year 1347 and Europe was flourishing. Trade was booming, cities were expanding, and life seemed pretty good. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, the Black Death struck. Within just a few years, it wiped out an estimated 25 to 60% of Europe's population. Imagine entire towns deserted, fields left untended, and a society gripped by fear and grief. But how did this terrible plague change society forever? How did the loss of life have profound economic impacts? What about the social upheaval? Cultural impacts? The Black Death didn't discriminate. It took the rich, the poor, the young, and the old. This indiscriminate nature led many to question the existing social and religious order. What about the effects the Black Death had on public health and urban planning? The medical practices of the time were rudimentary and often ineffective, but they laid the groundwork for future advancements. The Black Death forced a re-evaluation of medical knowledge and practices, leading to gradual improvements in healthcare. Universities and scholars began to place a greater emphasis on scientific inquiry and empirical evidence. This shift in focus helped pave the way for the Renaissance and the eventual rise of modern science. The cultural landscape of Europe was forever altered, with new artistic and literary movements emerging in response to the plague. Architectural styles evolved as well, with a greater emphasis on functionality and public health. Public spaces were redesigned to accommodate better sanitation and to prevent the spread of disease. Community life changed as people became more aware of the importance of hygiene and public health. Trade routes were re-established, and economies began to recover, albeit slowly. Merchants adapted to the new economic landscape, finding innovative ways to conduct business. Technological advancements were spurred by the need to address the challenges posed by the plague. Innovations in agriculture, transportation, and communication helped to rebuild and strengthen societies. The resilience of the human spirit shone through as communities came together to rebuild and recover. Despite the immense suffering, there was a renewed sense of hope and determination to create a better future. Like this video and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating historical insights. Now let's dive into the psychological impact of the Black Death on individuals and communities. The sheer scale of the devastation left deep emotional scars that would influence generations to come. Imagine living in a world where death was a constant companion. The pervasive fear and uncertainty led to widespread anxiety and despair. People witnessed the sudden loss of loved ones, entire families wiped out in days, and the collapse of their communities. This collective trauma had profound effects on the human psyche. One of the most significant psychological impacts was the shift in worldview. The omnipresence of death made people acutely aware of the fragility of life. This awareness led to a more introspective and existential mindset. Questions about the meaning of life, mortality, and the afterlife became central to people's thoughts and beliefs. The Black Death also influenced religious practices and beliefs. The inability of the Church to provide answers or protection during the plague led to a crisis of faith for many. Some turned to religious fanaticism, believing that the plague was a punishment from God and seeking redemption through extreme piety. Others, disillusioned by the Church's failure, explored alternative spiritual paths or became more secular in their outlook. Art and literature from the period reflect these deep psychological changes. The theme of memento mori, a reminder of death, became prevalent. Artistic works depicted grim scenes of death and decay, serving as a stark reminder of life's impermanence. Literature, too, grappled with themes of suffering, loss, and the search for meaning in a world turned upside down. Community dynamics were also affected. The shared experience of suffering brought people together, fostering a sense of solidarity and mutual support. However, fear and suspicion also led to scapegoating and persecution of marginalized groups, as people sought someone to blame for their misfortune. The psychological legacy of the Black Death is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Despite the immense suffering, people found ways to cope, adapt, and rebuild their lives. This period of intense psychological and emotional upheaval ultimately contributed to the emergence of new cultural and intellectual movements, as society sought to make sense of the world and find new ways to live. As we reflect on the psychological impact of the Black Death, we gain a deeper understanding of how this catastrophic event shaped the human experience. It reminds us of the enduring strength of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable adversity. The last impact on the Black Death changed society forever is the economic and social transformations that emerged in its aftermath. The Black Death didn't just leave psychological scars, it also radically altered the fabric of society. leading to profound economic and social changes. The massive loss of life resulted in a significant labour shortage. With fewer people to work the fields and engage in trades, labour became a highly valuable commodity. This labour scarcity empowered peasants and workers, who could now demand better wages and working conditions. The rigid feudal system, which had dominated Europe for centuries, began to weaken as serfs sought more freedom and mobility. Landowners, desperate to maintain their estates, often had to offer better terms to their workers, leading to a gradual shift in the balance of power. This economic upheaval paved the way for the decline of feudalism and the rise of a more market-oriented economy. Cities and towns grew as people moved in search of better opportunities, leading to increased urbanization and the growth of a burgeoning middle class. Trade and commerce also saw significant changes. With fewer people, the demand for goods decreased, leading to lower prices. However, the survivors found themselves with more disposable income, which they spent on luxury items and goods. This shift in consumer behavior spurred innovation and the development of new industries, laying the groundwork for the economic expansion that would follow in the coming centuries. The social structure of society was also transformed. The rigid class distinctions began to blur, as wealth became a more important determinant of social status than birthright. The newfound economic power of the working class and the middle class led to increased social mobility and the gradual erosion of the traditional aristocratic order. Education and intellectual pursuits flourished in this new environment. The reduced population meant that resources could be redirected towards learning and the arts. Universities expanded and the spread of knowledge accelerated, setting the stage for the Renaissance, a period of extraordinary cultural and intellectual growth. The Black Death also had a lasting impact on public health and sanitation. The sheer scale of the epidemic highlighted the importance of cleanliness and disease prevention. Cities began to implement more systematic approaches to waste management and public health, laying the foundations for modern sanitation practices. In conclusion, while the Black Death brought immense suffering and loss, it also acted as a catalyst for significant economic and social transformation. The changes it set in motion reshaped the world in ways that still resonate today. By understanding these transformations, we gain a deeper appreciation of how past events continue to influence our present and future. Thank you for joining us in this exploration of the Black Death's enduring impact on society. Share your thoughts on how these economic and social changes resonate with today's world in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed this historical journey, give us a like so YouTube can spread the love. Hit the subscribe button and share for more insights into history's profound events. Until next time, keep exploring the past to understand the present.